I love elevator interviews. They're my favorite. You're the attorney for the Potts, yes? Would you like to answer some questions about your case today, sir? The attorney from the other side was willing to talk to me about it. They're important First Amendment issues. And I heard you argue that Facebook was not a broadcast subject to the anti-slapp. Is that correct?
This is Susan Bassey with Mark, the process server, down at the Court of Appeal in San Jose, California. And before we get to the lawsuit that Mark is serving, I thought we'd revisit an old case, a case involving Michael Lazarin, a father of a little girl by the name of Audrey Pott, and the Potts family, because this is a case that involves family court, criminal court, the district attorney, and a Netflix documentary, and the way mainstream media covered all of it, and the way they didn't.
My favorite interview ever was in this elevator.
Yeah.
It was in Michael Lazarin's appeal. He is the father who was raising his daughter, and Shelia Pott came home one day with a new boyfriend and said, "Sorry, I was really married and you didn't declare paternity."
When Michael Lazarin first moved to Silicon Valley to work in tech recruiting, he met Shelia Pott. This is Sheila right here. And Sheila told Michael that she was divorced from Larry Pott. And this is Larry right here. And Larry eventually married Lisa Pott. And the Potts collectively litigated against Michael Lazarin for years following the death of their daughter, a daughter who was the biological child of Michael Lazarin and Shelia Pott.
Michael Lazarin talked with us exclusively about his lawsuit, saying that he wants to use the courts to get the facts, only on KRON 4.
Michael Lazarin's story teaches us about the cruelty of our modern family courts. He never knew that Sheila wasn't actually divorced while he was raising his daughter with her. And when she came and took Audrey away from him, she filed for divorce from Larry Pott. And when she did, there was a custody battle. And Larry was the presumed father because even though Michael tried to fight it, he didn't do it within 2 years of Audrey being born. And so Larry was awarded custody of Audrey, which came with lucrative child support payments because Sheila made a lot of money in real estate lending in Silicon Valley.
More to her suicide than is publicly known, and says that's what he wants to find out in court.
After Michael lost custody of his daughter, the Potts went on fighting in family court, and their fighting extended out of court as well. And Audrey became one of the typical teenagers in Silicon Valley, subject to parents with too much money willing to use the courts against one another. And when Michael's daughter took her own life, he learned about it on Facebook, so he wanted to file a lawsuit in order to find out the truth of what had happened in her life after he lost custody when she was just 7 years old.
Now, with his parents who are here from Arizona to support him during the court hearing, he shows off a large collection of photographs and mementos of Audrey as a child, pictures with Shelia Pott, with his parents, and much more.
And I was a involved father with my daughter for 7 years. Vacations to Hawaii, vacations on her birthday to Scottsdale, Arizona. I loved my daughter. She was my little girl. As of today, I do not know where my daughter's buried. It's just not right.
That was her dog, Russian.
Michael Lazarin acknowledges his paternity was never legally established, but he says it also was never disputed. He describes an on and off relationship with Shelia Pott, saying that she hid Audrey's birth from him until the child was 5 months old. He says they then acted as a family until 2003. So paternity was not an issue until the final split between he and Shelia Pott. He blames the Pott family for his separation from Audrey.
They did not want my family to have an existence. My family does exist.
Did they say why?
That's what I want to know.
Did they ever tell you why?
No.
He produces documents showing that he went to court in 2004 to try and gain access to Audrey and says he went bankrupt trying to prove paternity. He says he lost the case because of the state statute of limitations. And he knows that his intentions to join the Pott lawsuit have been described as a money grab.
This is not about money. My family is not going to accept a dime off of a wrongful death lawsuit.
Some people would say, this is a man seeking revenge.
No.
Retribution. You kept me from my daughter all these years. You're going to pay.
No. I want the truth to be told. My daughter's legacy deserves the truth.
After Michael was completely cut out of his daughter's life, the Potts continued their war in and out of court. But after Audrey's death, the Santa Clara County District Attorney and the local sheriff created a narrative that resulted in the prosecution of some Saratoga High School students related to Audrey's death through cyberbullying. And when those students took a plea deal, that paved the way for the Potts to be united again in filing a lucrative wrongful death lawsuit against the students and their parents. And the Potts continued to garner media attention and collect donations in the foundation in Audrey's name. And they also worked towards getting a movie on Netflix, the Audrey and Daisy movie, that continued to omit what Audrey's life had been like inside the home of Shelia Pott and Larry and Lisa Pott.
I love elevator interviews. They're my favorite. You're the attorney for the Potts, yes? Would you like to answer some questions about your case today, sir? The attorney from the other side was willing to talk to me about it. They're important First Amendment issues. And I heard you argue that Facebook was not a broadcast subject to the anti-slapp. Is that correct? Would you mind answering some questions about the anti-slapp statute that you cited to the justices today, sir? Or would you like to make any comments, Shelia? Shelia Pott, you're a member of the Los Altos community, and a lot of parents there are interested. You all collected money from the Los Gatos parents. You held a fundraiser at the Los Gatos movie theater.
And suddenly the warring parents who had gotten lots of media attention, a documentary, and done fundraisers all over the community had no comment to my questions.
Then you were very vocal at the time about teen suicide, and now you appear to not want to be able to say anything. Would you like to comment on people who are saying that you colluded with the district attorney's office in order to get a larger settlement in the civil case, and that Eric Geffen was representing the boys in that criminal case, and he had them take a plea deal which gave you a financial benefit? And do you have any comment about what you did to those boys in Saratoga?
A decade after his daughter's death, Michael found himself in court with the Potts once again. This time, they filed a restraining order request seeking to restrain Michael from talking about his daughter and about being her biological father. And when they filed that lawsuit, Michael filed an anti-slapp lawsuit. That's a lawsuit that says that the speech is protected under the First Amendment and therefore can't be subject to a lawsuit. And Michael eventually won that lawsuit. It became a published decision, and it is a foremost case when it comes to the First Amendment. But it cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars, 2 bankruptcies, and all of his time. And so in addition to the courts, Michael picked up his camera and took on the sheriff and went to public comment to speak to the district attorney about the narrative that they had created related to his daughter while silencing the truth.
I'm a resident here in the Rose Garden.
Okay.
And
Me too.
Where do you live?
I live on Park at Newhall.
Oh, okay. I'm on Garden Drive.
Oh,
so I have a question for you.
Yes.
As a father, okay, my daughter's been on national news. I'm the biological father of Audrey Pott. Okay.
Let's get a picture first.
Okay.
Wow.
This is video that Michael Lazarin took of Lori Smith during her political campaign when she was running for re-election of sheriff. He wanted to talk to her about the narrative that she and the department had put out about his daughter and what they hadn't.
You're supporting a dialogue that is not true on what happened to my daughter, okay? I have her reports of the domestic violence and this emotional psychological abuse that she was experiencing in her home life. As of today, I have not seen one of your sheriffs come to my home and ask me what was going on with my daughter prior to her suicide. Why?
So what is it that I'm saying wrong?
Well, one, you're supporting a narrative.
She was bullied at school.
Okay, I know all the details. Okay, I was all the way in. I was subpoenaed in this case from the very, very beginning. Mm-hmm. Okay, the narrative of my daughter's suicide is documented in these that you're aware of. I'm sure you're aware of the domestic violence of both of her step-parents and her mother prior to her suicide. Why wasn't that revealed in the public? Why? I'm her father.
I know. Okay. Melanie, this is Audrey Pott's natural father.
Hi. Melanie from her office.
Hi. I support you. I'm here as a father.
I'm just so sorry for your loss.
Can you imagine my parents and what they've been going through?
No, I can't. I'm so sorry.
I mean, just a month ago, we've been trying to heal for months.
Are there reports of abuse?
Absolutely.
With Los Altos? But with Los Altos
Absolutely.
Police Department?
Absolutely.
Okay. Then we do have those.
Yes.
Okay.
There was abuse that was going on. There was a it was reported to the CPS from her therapist. Why wasn't that ever released into the public?
And maybe that's something that we could have said or should have said. But I think that
Really, Lori, come on. I'm her father. I mean, I'm talking 5 years of my family suffering, and not one of your sheriffs that ever came and asked me.
But there were reports. The incidents were reported, right?
Well, yeah, but they were never released to the public, right? There was never this cyberbullying aspect of my daughter's case, which all of the people, right? Even the students were telling that this narrative was false. Their own attorney has been their fault.
Do you believe that it was false?
I have the documents right here of her therapist. Okay, I have the public documents that were going to be used in the trial.
Were they used in the trial?
They settled the day before the trial was released.
I'm sure that everyone has these, correct?
Yeah, these are on. Matter of fact, these have been posted on the internet. That's where I've got them.
Yes.
So, would you like a copy of them? I can give you a copy of the Berg
I'm sure
report.
that we have them, but yes,
and I'll give you a copy of the other report.
So maybe in the public narrative, perhaps you should have been called to talk.
Well, you're on national television a month ago, right?
Yes.
A month ago in Web of Lies Discovery Channel in uniform, right? When you knew that there was domestic violence going on in my daughter's house.
I also know that there was bullying at school.
It wasn't. She wasn't protected. My daughter was not protected. She wasn't.
I want to read these.
And Michael even took on the district attorney and funding for domestic violence in public comment at the county supervisor meeting.
Thank you, council members. Once again, my name is Michael Lazarin, and I sit here as a father. And I ask everyone here, how many children voices are being not heard? My daughter, Audrey Pott, for national headlines under Mr. Rosen, and he could sit there with his smirk, basically hid domestic violence that was going on in my daughter's home life 6 to 12 months before her suicide. And I asked myself, these three boys that sexually assaulted my child, It's taken my family everything to heal from this. And I sit here 3 months ago trying to heal after 5.5 years. And I see our sheriff on national television on the Web of Lies in uniform, standing, supporting a false narrative that happened to my child on national television. It needs to stop. These boys did something very bad to my daughter, and my family has forgiven them. But my daughter's therapists were reaching out and asking, because of the domestic violence that was going on in her home life, for help. And nobody helped my child.
Michael's story reminds us about money, power, greed, and public corruption and the impact that it has on our families. But most of all, it reminds us of why we need cameras in courts, because when justice finally shows up, the public should be watching.